Thank you, Star. Appreciate that. And Star Tom, your music was right on the button. I've got to tell you, when I start my actual lesson this morning, you're going to recognize a lot of what you sang about is right out of the lesson. I'm not surprised. Between you and Guy, you always hit it. It's wonderful to be back this morning. And I do want to get into the lesson because I am a big fan of magic and I'm excited to talk about it this morning. But before I do that, I want to share something. A number of people have asked me, I'm going to move my screen up a little bit about this mask in the background. They said, what do you what do you got on your wall? Can you? I think maybe you can see it. I hope you can. This is a warrior's mask that was done by a woman. Her name is Fanny Loretta, and she is down in south of Tucson, Arizona. And Fanny makes these masks the old-fashioned way. She fires them. It's a clay mask. And I bought it while I was there. And the reason I bought it was because along the black part where the eyes are unseen, you can't see the eyes, there are stars, glittering stars. And if you look closely, you might even say maybe it's a universe, it's a galaxy. And I bought it because it goes along with a poem that struck me when I was going to Unity Village. I was at the village. I had not been admitted to the ministry program, and I was taking the test to apply. And I got up that morning and I began to wonder, why am I doing this? Why am I leaving a good job? Plus, I'd just been offered a job at George Washington University as an assistant professor. And here I am going to Unity Village. My salary's going to be cut, and I've got 2 more years of school. Am I crazy? I opened up a book by the Native American Jamie Sams and read the Sacred Warrior's Vow before going to be tested. The last lines in the Sacred Warrior's Vow go like this. They rise from every nation, ready to claim the right to stand as men of courage, defenders of the light. And when I read that, I said, well, the salary would be great, the position would be great, but what greater thing can I do in my life than to defend the light, to be a seeker of truth, spirituality, and God will take care of the rest. And I went over there and I never turned back. And so here I am, 20 some odd years later. The mask is a reminder every day of what I'm supposed to be doing. And it looks like magic too, doesn't it? It's a very strange, unusual mask. I love magic. I have always loved magic. As a child, as an adult, I have been thrilled by stage shows, television, books on magic, Harry Potter, The Wizard of Oz, you name it, magic enthralls me. I even tried a little bit of it myself at one time. I bought card decks that were special. My favorite trick was a floating dollar bill where I would stand and all of a sudden I'd crinkle it up, put it out in front of me, walk away, and it just sits there floating in the air. I love doing magic. I love seeing magic. But I'm very disappointed in churches because when you hear churches talk about magic, what do you hear normally? Negativity. Look what happened when Harry Potter, the little children's book, came out, and churches banned that book. They wouldn't read it. It was about witchcraft. They're trying to destroy our children. Well, I don't believe that, even for a second. I believe magic is good if it's used properly. And I want to share the journey that I went on the last few weeks in uncovering types of magic and why we are supposed to be doing magic. First of all, Tom, you hit it right on the nail on the head when you said we are children of God. First chapter of Genesis, for those that are in the class on Thursday. What does it say? God created man in his own image. How could we not be powerful then if we are in the image of the Creator? It goes on to say in Romans, the Spirit himself testifies with our spirit, we are God's children. We're made in God's image. We're God's children. And then Jesus in John 14:12 says, he will do what I have been doing. He will do even greater things than these. So why are we just looking back at what Jesus did? Why aren't we doing greater things? Why aren't we doing magic? Maybe we're looking at it all wrong. We're waiting for something when in fact magic's right in front of us. Carl Sagan wrote a book. What was it called? Oh my goodness. The Demon Haunted World. And in the Demon Haunted World, I want to read his quote because he says it better than I could. A book is made from a tree, imprinted with dark pigmented squiggles. One glance at it, and you hear the voice of another person, perhaps someone dead for thousands of years. Across the millennia, the author is speaking clearly, silently, inside our head. Writing is perhaps the greatest of human inventions, binding together people, citizens in distant epochs who never knew one another. Books break the shackle of time. Proof that we humans can work magic. And so we've already done magic. And that's what I'm going to come up with this morning. I'm going to share with you 3 types of magic, some of which we do, some of which we don't, and how you and I can definitely do the third. But first, I'm going to take a side trip. Those that were in the class on Thursday, Metaphysical Bible, know that we studied a rabbi's book, Rabbi Nahum Ward-Lev, The Liberating Path of the Hebrew Prophet. It was that book that opened it up a little bit for me. Rabbi Lev says that the prophet is not a fortune teller. The prophet is a person who knows the word of God, sees that it's not being followed, and warns people, or I should say criticizes them in most cases. And he criticizes, believe it or not, in the Old Testament, just 3 major groups, most of which are not the private layperson. They criticize royals, like the king, religious, like the priest, and the merchant, the selling person, the person in business. Why? Because they are entrusted with leadership. They are performing functions which lead people. Okay? And that's important. Most of the public is just following a leader. And so they're the ones that get criticized. I'm going to give you an example of a Bible verse, and we're going to see that this affects the church. How many of you heard in Leviticus, it is an abomination for a man to lie with a man as a woman? There's actually 2 verses in there that say almost exactly the same thing. Do not lie with a man as one lies with a woman. Both have done what is called an abomination. And the 2nd verse says they should be put to death. And generally we take that, just like we take witchery and all the other magical stuff, and we throw a term on it and we call it, that's a verse about homosexuality, isn't it? Homosexuality is an abomination. Not if you read it in depth. The word that is used for abomination, Ramah, R-A-M-A-H, is a detestable act. But why is it detestable? That's the question. And if you look at the definition of that word, it means treachery or deceit. It has nothing to do with the sexuality. It has to do with deceit. I asked a rabbi, South Lake Tahoe, a few years ago about it. He said, yes, it's not about sexual act. It's about the priest. The priests at the time were luring in young boys and having relations with them. They were even dressing up as a woman. They were deceitful. It was the deceitful act by someone in authority that was the abomination. It's a lie. And God is about truth. Back to Tom's song. It's all about truth. And if you don't know truth and you lie, what you end up doing is corrupting your own being. But it goes further. You're then going to corrupt the being of your community, and you're going to you're destroying the relationship with God. All of those things are happening because of one thing. You don't tell the truth. It's a lie. Okay? That's at the heart of magic too. I'm going to share with you 3 forms of magic. I'm going to change it a little bit from what I put in the advertisement because I like a different term better. There are 3 forms of magic we're going to go into: myth, stage, and poetic. Now, mythical magic has to do with storytelling. It's not real. Cinderella, you can't change a pumpkin into a coach, mice into a horse. Okay? But mythical magic can cause harm. One of the greatest examples of it is Nazi Germany in World War II. Most people don't know this, but Adolf Hitler and the Nazis took the mythology in the German culture and twisted it. They made a lie out of it. But that mythical lie led the people to be excited, to be emotionally liberated, to be just fall in line behind their leaders who were lying to them. They used false mythology. Might say their mythology was make Germany great again, but it was all based on lies. What it led to was division, separation, and look at what happened. They could take the lives of so many people and never look back. They thought they were doing a good thing. Is that the child of God acting? I don't think that's truth. But there is mythological stories that are beautiful and magical. How many of you have ever read C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia? Yeah, deep within those stories, it builds fellowship, it builds relationship, it challenges you. It's a good magic. It's a good mythology. Star Trek is a great mythology. I'm a Trekkie. I'll admit it. But if you look carefully at the stories, especially the next generation, deep within the stories, they are building relationships. It's really about relationships. They just use warp speed and transmitter. Let me get transporter. They have transporter. That's mythology. Those things don't exist. But they use them in order to show us relationships. They build stories. Those stories enliven us, challenge us, and bring us together. The second form of magic is stage magic, and you've seen stage magic. What's his name? Oh, I forgot the names. Well, David Copperfield and others. You've seen them performing stage magic. It's beautiful and it's fun. Politicians use stage magic. Have you ever thought about it? That when they go on television, they're on stage? I'm on stage right now. When they go on television, they're on stage. Politicians use stage magic all the time. But are they telling you truth or are they telling you lies? Religious people are the same way. They use television. They use other media. Are they telling you truth? Are they telling you God's truth when they stand up there and they talk about other religions, condemning others, calling others names? I remember Jesus calling people bad names all the time, right? I don't think so. Jesus used it, and so would a church that uses the stage properly to bring people together, to show us how we are all similar, how to find unity rather than separation. And finally, businesses. Well, businesses, we all know, use advertisement all the time. They use television. You walk into a mall, even if it's an outdoor mall, they're advertising all the time. They're on stage. Are they telling you the truth? Or are they twisting it slightly? Trying to sell you something, but not in your best interest. It's all about making a profit. Or are they trying to do something for you that is a true service of quality? Well, those are two levels of magic, but I like the third, what I call poetic magic, which brings all of it together. Poetic magic is really fantastic because guess what? It's real. It's absolutely real. There's no faking it. It's always going on. It's everywhere around us. And it will always, always, always make us feel more alive and connected. But what is poetic magic? This is the hard one to describe at first, but then all of a sudden it makes sense. Whatever is real that makes us more alive, brings us more life, is probably poetic magic. Kind of like Carl Sagan's identifying a book as magic. You know what magic is? The vaccine. Have you ever thought of that vaccine that we're faced with right now, COVID-19 vaccine, as magic? It's magic. All vaccines are magic. If you and I were born in 1900, the top 4 or 5 leading causes of death were all infectious diseases. Pneumonia, leukemia, no, not leukemia, Larry. Tuberculosis, influenza, and a number of others. They're not there now. You don't see polio. You don't see so many diseases because of vaccines. Vaccines are magic. What else is magic? Almost every medicine in your medicine chest is magic. Years and years ago, if you had pain and suffering, you just bite the bullet. Not today. We have magic. Drugs that can help alleviate pain and suffering, that can help us through diseases. We have surgeries to help us with all kinds of injuries or problems when things go wrong in our bodies. We have anesthesia, which means we don't suffer when we go in for a surgery. How would you like to go in and just have a tooth pulled without anesthesia? Right? What else? Simple things. How many of you have a car at home? All right. You ever thought of that as magic? 200 years ago, you would probably not have left your local community and you would have ridden on the back of a horse or in a cart to most of those places. How many of you drive, Tom? You just went up to Washington. We drive all over the country. We're mobile. That's magic. And we just look at it every day and don't think anything of it. Of course, if you're in California, I've been over there, and your magic gets backed up quite a bit. Your magic is constipated at times, so you might want to spread it out a little bit. Automobiles, planes. Think about you jump on an airplane, on a ship, and the next thing you know, you're in Europe, you're in Hawaii, you can visit Asia. People go all the time, and we take it for granted. It's magic. And you know what? I could go on and I could go on. We've got music that's magic. Paul and I went to a concert one day. It was an orchestra piece. I think it was Mendelssohn. And all of a sudden I realized what we were listening to, what was touching us so deeply, came out of the mind of a man who put all those mathematical notes together for all those instruments. And hundreds of years later, people are playing those notes that came out of his head so that we could enjoy it. That's magic. Music is magical. There's so many other things that are magical. Books, stars in the sky, the moon, the sun, everything that we take for granted. And see, there's the sin that the people in leadership make too. They start taking it for granted and become self-absorbed. I'm going to end this talk on magic with a story, but this story is not made up. This is real. In 2007, the Washington Post performed an experiment in Washington. They wanted to see how people would react. So they sent someone to the Washington, D.C. metro station early in the morning. The man took out a violin and began to play for about 45 minutes. During that time, they registered over 2,000 people going through the station. Most of them didn't stop. A few stopped for a moment or two, but then moved on. The man played for an hour, stopped. He collected a total of $32, put up his violin, no one applauded, and he walked away. The man was Joshua Bell, the world-renowned violinist. He played one of the most intricate pieces for violin that had ever been written on a violin worth $3.5 million. And just 2 days before, that same man played a concert in Boston where the average price of the ticket was over $100. Are we like most people? Are we like those 2,000 that walked through there that didn't see the magic? They were waiting for something else. And what was happening is the magic was right in front of them. The magic is always right in front of us if we're able to see it. If we're able to see through our ordinary day into what's right behind it. But the only way to do that is we have to claim our inheritance. We have to step back into our role as a child of God, made in the image of God. And what we're looking for is the truth. And when we do that, lo and behold, the magic will appear. And I might even say, maybe we'll even be back in the garden at that moment. Yeah, I believe in magic. And I hope you do too. That's your talk for today. But I want to do a contemplation for 2 minutes. And I think 2 minutes will be plenty. I'll keep track of time, or I'll try to anyway. But I want you to do something similar to what I did last time. It's not a meditation, it's a contemplation. You may keep your eyes open, you can close them. But I want you to take a deep breath now and begin to relax. I want you to come out of that ordinary rush through the metro station mentality. For just a few moments, we're going to go and stop in the station, but not the metro station in Washington, D.C., the metro station of our lives. Taking a deep breath and relax. We're going to pretend that this is our metro station, wherever you're living, your home, your life right now. And for the next 2 minutes, I want you to stop. Don't just go from thought to thought, activity to activity, but begin to notice the poetic magic in our own lives, not in somebody else's. For 2 minutes, bring to mind, put in your mind those things in your lives that are magic. And when you're done, in 2 minutes, we'll come out and I'll share another little piece of magic with you. So for 2 minutes, notice the magic in your life, the poetic magic all around you. And just to help you a little bit, just think about turning on your TV set to YouTube or going on the internet and being able to have some of the greatest minds in the world, theologians, scholars, that you can call them up on your television set. That's magic. What else is magic? Invite you now to start coming back into this time and this place. But know what you've just done in being able to identify that magic means that you can do it. That anytime you want, you can slow down and begin to see the magic all around you. You'll see the truth, the beauty of this world, and will be able to add your beauty to it. And so it is. Let's affirm together that we are children of God. We are made in that image. We are magicians. We are spiritual warriors and defenders of the light. And when we open our minds and our hearts to who we are, what we will see around us is the magic and the beauty of the Creator itself. Thank you, God. Amen.